And we are live. Well, hello. We've got a few people here early already, but thanks to everybody who's here or who's coming or watching replay. I've been meaning to get to this for a while, so now I'm a bit higher past 2,000. Although it seemed like it took forever to get to 2,000, but it's a milestone I did not think I would ever reach. So definitely worth having the celebratory live stream here. I sent the invite out to a bunch of people, so we'll probably have people kind of pop in and out, and we'll see there. But we got Andrew, Janie Wirtz, and Mike Molman here. It's Andrew has some chaos going, so I don't know if he's going to introduce himself. We'll start in the bottom corner with Mike, and we'll go up, and everybody can say hi, introduce yourself.
I am merely Mike Molman. I am a booktuber who looks up to the two people above us because I have a lowly 372 followers. And I look up to Janny because she is just an icon in fantasy, and who doesn't? I have 5 books out, 4 fantasy, 1 sci-fi. That's the highlights. Nice.
I'm reading this one, so I have it nearby. Well, and Janny, I feel like at least here you probably need a no introduction, but if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm just a writer and illustrator that is addicted to reading, been addicted to reading all my life. So I read under the covers with flashlights and got paddled for it since I was about 3.
Nice.
And obviously it didn't thwart me at all. So here I am to celebrate Nico 2000. That is awesome. Nico,
Thank you.
Your bookshelves are amazing. I'm just looking and drooling at what's behind you there. Complete sets of series that I probably picked up when I was in high school, used and on forward, where I didn't order books because I was too crazy busy or income was too low. So you are a staple in this field and a staple on YouTube. And I don't care how many followers people think they have, 300, 3,000, 2,000, 10,000. You all add up, okay? You matter.
Well, very nice words. Very nice words. Well, there you go, though, Mike, because Monty's here and says you have him beat. So you're doing something right. There you go. And we got Heidi in the house here as well. Monty was hoping to be the only one here. It's been Rash. We got Alex. We got Anitha. Hopefully we'll have plenty of people here. I feel like I've cut back on the amount of people who might be watching because I invited so many people to jump onto the stream. So it'll probably be a little bit of a madhouse here. And we got Derek, and we got already overbooked here as well. Thanks to all for coming. And then we have Finney here as well. We just did some brief introductions. Feel free to introduce yourself as well. Andrew, I hear you're unmuted, so you can, I suppose, introduce yourself. Nobody probably knows
who I am.
Oh gosh. Can you
Tina goes first. Tina's cooler than I am.
Yeah. Can you? Perfect.
Well, Nico, you know what we do to authors who don't show up to panels. So if you tell us who doesn't show up to your party tonight, we impersonate them. We put up their name tag and we impersonate them until they're embarrassed into logging in.
Well, we'll have to see. I had a lot of, this was kind of last second, so I didn't really give people a lot of lead time or anything. So it's kind of super who happens to have time. And I know some people will probably be in and out too. So it was really good timing though, because StreamYard, for some reason, even though I'm a free user and I don't even have like the pro, they offered me a trial to their professional version for a week yesterday. And I'm like, well, cool. Cause then I can have as many people, I think, join as needed. So.
Perfect.
And we got Patrick in the house as well.
Hey, everyone. Congrats on 2K, Nico.
Thank you.
I guess I should say congrats on 2K. I thought it was implied.
I mean, you showed up, so it is kind of implied, to be fair. Andrew, at least somebody appreciates you here. So
Hey,
you have
listen, Heidi knows humor, and that's why she's one of my favorite patrons.
Oh goodness. But yeah, it's we're popping in. So it's kind of just a general hangout. So we'll see and we'll chat. But yeah, it's a mix too of authors, booktubers, all kinds of people. I tried to only invite people who are at least like used to being on camera with it as well. But we'll see. We got a nice crowd so far. I was not really sure.
I mean, I
was
just
not really
pinged the
sure how many people
Discord,
would make it.
so maybe that will generate
I
some people.
posted. I didn't add everyone.
Oh, I
I
did.
always feel weird adding everybody, even in my own Discord. I don't know.
I mean, it's like a celebration. I figured, why not?
Oh yeah, it's all good. But yeah, so how's everybody doing? What's everybody reading?
I'm reading The Last Kingdom right now.
I just finished reading the John Minton's family.
I'm 50%.
Yeah, it is lit. If you're a Gene Wolfe reader, if you like really off the wall, incredibly polished, very it'll screw with your brain.
I
I'm
just hit
telling you.
50%. I just hit 50%, and I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Well, apparently I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to read whatever this is. I don't.
It's Discovery. It doesn't even come out till May. Janny and I are ARC readers.
Oh, I gotcha.
Oh, is that the talking story book, John's book?
Yeah.
Yep. It is amazing. It's going to be top tier literary science fiction, blow your mind, contemporary Earth. Yeah, it's off the wall, but
It's
it's so well done.
post-apocalyptic. It's cosmic horror. It's Lovecraftian.
Yes,
It's set in
yes.
the 90s. It's got AI elements, not AI writing elements, but it tackles the idea of artificial intelligence, then tying that in with the cosmic horror.
And First Contact, and he screws with history. They screw with histories so much they revise everything you think you knew. Believe me, it's going to scramble your brain. It is so well done, and they've pulled in worldviews, multiple different countries, multiple different lost exploration explorers who never returned, and they've rewoven history in a way that's extremely unique. They've polished the delivery, they've polished the research. It's a landmark work. It's amazing.
Well, I'm very curious, so I will definitely have to check that out for sure once it's out. Because yeah, that sounds awesome.
And you can hear their humor in the dialogue.
Right.
It's great. It's like the humor's like fireworks. It's really fun.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like it would be up my alley for sure. So, we have Anita asking the best book series you found because of BookTube.
I mean, Nico's going to say Wars of Light and Shadow.
Well, but so I got to it quicker because of BookTube, but I randomly found Cycle of Fire in a used bookstore and immediately was like, oh, I got to check more out from this author. And then people like read Wars of Light and Shadow. And so I did sooner. But that's sort of like one that I probably wouldn't have found out about except for BookTube is what I'm trying to think. That might be Hanuvar. Because this specifically, I randomly read some of his other books that I thought were pretty decent, but then he reached out to me because of BookTube, so that might be it's like a lot of the other recommended ones were like things that because like I'm finally prioritizing Guy Gavriel K because of BookTube, but I've had his books for years, so things like that, like things that I've had. That might be one of the big ones that was very specifically
Paul Stewart.
there.
I wouldn't read Paul Stewart without BookTube.
That's another
Yeah.
great example.
Yeah.
I mean, you also have Mike Molman here, who originally reached out to me because of the fact that I'm on BookTube. So another great series there too. So,
What's the name of it, Mike?
The Protectors of Brittany. First book's Becoming a Druid. It's really like 80s style fantasy in a really fun way.
Mike writing like it's in the 80s. I wonder where he even knows what it's like being in the 80s.
I wonder.
He's so youthful. I mean, you see that head of hair?
Yeah, behind me on the mannequin.
I'm not far behind him, honestly. So
Yeah.
I'm just giving you crap, Mike. I love you.
we got the Rogue in the house.
Rogue's here. Very nice.
Oh, we got Anita coming up with more good questions. Best moment of your BookTube journey. I mean, this is a pretty good one right now. I'm on a live stream with a bunch of friends and authors and everything. And
I mean, you've talked to Erickson and Tad Williams and Janie Wirtz.
I was going to say, yeah,
You got acknowledged in a Janie Wirtz book.
Those are all some pretty high things. The people that I've gotten to like interact with is just still kind of blows my mind sometimes. That I just get to be like, hey, I chat with these authors that I love for an extended period of time. So it's pretty great. It's pretty great. And yeah, I just love it too. The little things. Anytime somebody's like, oh my gosh, I picked up this book because of you, and I love it. Especially if it's something that like I really try to get people to read. Those are pretty great too. So. Oh, it looks like Ben is curious about some of Janny's favorite reads because me and him have talked about my favorites quite a lot. So he's familiar. So some of your favorite reads from recent memory.
Well, do you want outside of genre or in genre? So let's narrow it down because I've read thousands and thousands of phenomenal books. Do you want it in genre or outside genre?
We'll go in genre, I think. Just probably. I mean, Ben does read all kinds of stuff too, so maybe not. But
I'm a big fan of Roger Zelazny. That's not amber, because his really deep stuff is not amber. I'm a big fan of C.J. Cherry's Fortress of the Eye of Time. If you never read that, it's just a mind-blowing concept where she has a wizard reincarnate a character from the past, but spell isn't quite complete. So he gets the guy, but the guy can't remember anything. So you start out with this fully mature person that is completely innocent, and then the wizard dies in this hot mess of a situation. So it's like looking at humanity's political foibles through an eye of total innocence and trying to figure out what a lie is, and it's just an amazing, and it went under the radar really bad. Let's see, what else do I really love? I like Paul Stewart's, so that's new. I like the John Minton book that's coming up for John Minton's family. I liked, what else? I like Adrian Tchaikovsky's Shadow of the Apt. Totally different and original. Stepping aside from fantasy one half step, Dorothy Dunnett probably is one of the most brilliant historical fiction writers ever. If you are into Pillars of the Earth, read Edith Pargetter's The Heaven Tree. Below's a cathedral building novel out of the water. Her stuff is so much better because it's character driven and they have emotions, and she really captures the spirit of the art, and she captures the abrasiveness of the egos that spent the money to build those things. Totally different take of the time period, but I love it, and that's one that's almost never read. So yeah, the Heaven Tree trilogy by Edith Pargeter.
I have that specifically on a special list of books that you've recommended.
Yep, hot stuff.
That I keep in a file. So many I need to get to. Some that I
R.M. Melick, The Jerusalem Fire by R.M. Melick. Katie Waitman's The Marrow Tree, a take on the entertainment industry and cultural appropriation and political maneuvering around all those things where arts are being silenced. Science fiction, brilliant book, brilliant writing. Disappeared right off the radar. Even though it got a really prominent launch, it was a part of a literary series that one of those publishers was trying to make a big deal out of, and it just vanished. But it's well worth, either of those are well worth getting. If you can find them. If you want a little bit of crazy pyrotechnic wacko characters, way ahead of its time, Bloodstorm, and it has a sequel by Heather Gladney. Came out in the 80s. Paperback. So these are books that have just disappeared, but they're brilliant.
Yeah, so there you go. We've all got lots of homework to.
I could keep going, but I'd blow your TBR for the next 10 years.
My TBR is already 4 years long. 5 years, probably.
I always joke I could like not add a single other book, even with just like what I own, and I'd be set for years probably. So it's always in that constant state of flux for sure. Oh man!
Yeah. Did you read Barry Hewitt's Asian Fantasies? There's 2 of them. They were quite well done.
I have not.
Yeah, there's a lot. There are more good books out there than we will ever have any time to read. And I've been at this for decades, so I could destroy your TBR.
We're just gonna start calling you the TBR Destroyer. That's what your name tag should say. The TBR Destroyer.
I'll take it. That's a good label. I'll take it.
Oh, and Drew's reading Shadow March, which makes me jealous because I've been meaning to read that and I didn't get to it this year. But I did last King of Austenard, so that at least was something.
Listen, Nico, I picked up Shadow March. I have it all on hardcover now. I'm just waiting on you. Not January, but anytime after January.
All right, we'll set something up. We'll set something up for sure. Monica is reading nonfiction, The Art Thief by Michael Finkel. I feel like I've heard of that one. I don't probably read enough nonfiction, but there's as has been talked about, there's so much fantasy I want to get to that I'm bad at about getting to non-fantasy. I was just talking to Patrick about this the other day. Oh gosh. Monty's saying best book from book 2 was Tori Tekken. Yep, Bloodstone's a really great book. Seasons of Albadown, a really good one too. And yeah, the author's in our Discord, which is another cool thing. How many authors we have hanging out in Discord as well. Heidi has Band of Scots Boudica. Yep, I will be getting to that very soon. It was Heidi did a patron pick for me for that one, and I'm excited. So that'll be something that's historical fiction, not quite fantasy as well. So a little bit different. Oh, hey, we got Chibi Po. Yes, leaving a like is much appreciated. Thank you. And then Ben gonna try Amber soon. Yeah, I see. Now I'm curious about his non stuff. I read the first couple of Amber books, which I did like, and plan to continue those. And I'll have to check out the other stuff too. And Anita has
Fated Sun. It's a good series. That's a good series too. She didn't write ever a bad book.
Stuff.
There are no bad books from her. She wrote the scariest horror book I ever read in my whole life.
Oh, give me that. Give me the recommendation.
She has 3 titles in her Alliance Union universe, and they're from her Outer Beyond, and it's, what's it called? Into Dark or Into Night. It's got night in the title, but it's about an outer rim mining ship, small crew that gets scooped up by this alien something, and it's the most terrifying thing I ever read. Voyage into Night, I think, is the title, and it's very short. It's very, very tiny. Won't take you more than an afternoon to read it. Voyage in Night, I believe, is the title. Somebody can look it up.
I was trying to.
Oh my God, I don't like horror.
Oh,
and that
Voyage at Night.
Freak me out, nightmare book.
So it looks like the first one is Port Eternity. The second one's Voyager in Night.
But you don't have to read. Voyage in Night is a standalone. She just those are her Outer Beyond. So in other words, the Alliance universe is divided into sectors. So it's Alliance, it's Union, and this is Outer Beyond, which is like out at the edge.
I have to see if I can put this cover on the screen here really quick, because holy cow. I don't know how to actually do that though. Media assets.
My copy just has a blue cover with white type, so it's doesn't look like a horror book, but oh my God. Yeah, that one stuck with me as strongly as The Cold Equations, that short story. That one destroyed me. I'm reaching over to get a cat bowl so another cat doesn't eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not gonna work. It doesn't look like it's going to let me just actually.
So yeah, I didn't know I was reading horror. I probably would have run away screaming.
Oh goodness. We got Mem in the house. Saying another CJ Sherry recommendation, Serpent's Reach. We got some comics and tortillas. Ben a big Shadows of the Apt fan.
Yeah,
well.
Brilliant.
Trying to get through Wind and Truth. It is a long book for sure. We got
way longer than it needed to be.
Yeah.
I was wondering how long we were going to get before someone would bring it up.
I didn't bring it up. I've walked
know,
away from
I
it for the second time right now. It's in timeout.
I finished 5 other books since I started Wind and Truth. Pretty much
Oh,
each
man.
day I have to stop and I go to a different book and then come back for another day.
Oh, and here we got Tori. I could see that with
Big
Nikki.
man.
She does have quite the collection of books. It's like I read a solid amount of books a year, but it's just there's always more getting added because there's more getting published, and I'm so interested in stuff that's been published and been around for a long time, and so
Nikki's
much.
TBR is huge. She's got a whole room of just.
Yeah.
I think the only person I know with a bigger collection is either Chris the Bookaholic or Brian Lee Durfee.
Yeah, it could be. Oh gosh, Heidi, reading some of my faves. Great books. Could Hanuvar defeat the Norn Queen? That's a niche question because you need people who've read both, which is me, I think. I feel like he'd find a way. He would find a way. Tori has a 7 to 8 year TBR. That's
God, I burned mine up. I burned mine down to nothing in no time.
I wish. Hey, we got Kay. Monty having a fan moment. Oh goodness. Yeah, my TBR is always getting longer. And whenever I make one of those priority videos, which I did this year and I shouldn't have because I feel like it's cursed, because if I'm like, I really want to get to this, I'm not getting to it. It's never going to happen. And every year I have that where I'm like, I want to get to this. And then I go back and look and I stop because I'm like, okay, I got to none of this stuff. Oh man. But I've been really trying this year to focus on like stuff that I have, not adding more. And so, yeah, I have a lot of like authors that I really want to keep reading their stuff and continue, which Janny started the trend because I'm like, I'm going to read every Janny book. And then from there, I'm like, okay, now I need to like read like all of Guy Gabriel Kay's books and like all that. And so like kind of I might start going through authors like that at least. So I feel like I'm making progress.
Well, see, I got the jump on you there because I started with their debut. Most of these people that you guys are catching up on. So yeah, I've read the Guy Kay as they released. I read the Robin Hobbs as they released. I read the Tad Williams as they released. So, you know, I was in at the ground floor. So I've got a lot of this stuff behind me. I'm looking ahead to what else can I grab?
Well, on that note, Ben asks if you've ever read Sanderson.
Yes, I have. I read Elantris and I read Mistborn and I read Way of Kings. And of the three, I like the Way of Kings the very best.
I like
Probably
Elantris.
my favorite
I'll die
Sanderson.
on the hill.
I just said that's the one I like the best.
Most people don't like Elantris. That's why I made that statement.
Oh, okay.
It's one where it's really mixed. Some people love it, some people hate it. I like it just fine. I like a lot of the early stuff in general. So, but we have Monty with a question. A book you had the longest time before you read it has 2 stainless steel rat books. I don't know what that is, but that's a fun name. Bought in 1997 and planning to read them this year. That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Anybody else who knows the answer, go feel free to jump in.
I have no idea.
I'm trying to remember the title. It's a Werner Vinge book. Science fiction. Come on. It's got a beautiful title. He wrote Children of the Sky. That's the 3rd in the series. I'm trying to go back to the first one. I had that for years before I read it. And some of the... Oh, darn, I wish I could remember. It's Werner Vinge. It's... Damn. It's probably sitting right here. But yeah, I had that one for like 20 years before I picked it up.
Fire Upon the Deep.
Fire Upon the Deep. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Hey, coming in clutch.
It's an amazing story. It stuck with me. The concept, it's an idea book more than a character driven, but the way he conceptualized how civilizations would build up to the point where people didn't know how to make things anymore and then it would collapse. And how far back they would drop because the common sense knowledge was gone. Only he was doing it on a cosmic scale. So fascinating read.
That has been one that has been on that's been on my radar for a little bit, and I've not read anything from that author. I actually wasn't even familiar with him until fairly recently, but yeah, so
It's
I'm excited.
highly relevant today, even.
A lot
That's
of
how far
sci-fi
ahead of his time.
authors, a lot of the 80s, 70s, 80s, any sci-fi from past is still very relevant to find. A lot of them are. Which is
Yeah, well-
fascinating if you think about it, right?
Yeah,
That you
well,
can
Jack
still
Vance
apply
and
it.
Tanith Lee and all those guys, a lot of their stuff is still relevant. But
Yeah.
people haven't got to them because they were publishing before they were born.
That's one I want to read too, The Fire Upon the Deep.
It's well worth the read. It's well worth the read. It's not going to warm the cockles of your little heart, but it will blow your mind. It totally will. Much in the same way a Player of Games did.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, I'm reading Second Book of Swords again.
Who did we lose? Did we lose Nico?
We lost Nico.
Well, perfect.
Great. Now the fun can really begin.
Yeah.
Take over his channel.
Who's going to imitate Nico?
Oh, nobody can imitate Nico. Well, we've got a 2K celebration without this. Did you steal my box? You did steal my box.
He's celebrating, all right.
Usually, I got to get a couple drinks in me before I put the box on my head.
So, Andrew, did you just have an unboxing live on Nico's channel?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. I got from Hodalore. He sent me You, Me, and the Nightmare Painter, and I've got something else here. The Runeborn Trilogy, Die Young.
Nice.
By Morgan Schenk. Some self-pub.
That cover looks great.
I know, it's gorgeous. I like that helmet with the sword through it, the shattered sword. Some nice pink used on the castle a little bit. This looks dope. Got a broken sword on the spine.
Have you talked to him, Andrew?
Who, Nico?
No, Morgan Shank.
I have not.
He's an interesting dude.
Oh, that's from Palmer. Thank you, Palmer. Cool.
Where did Palmer send you?
She sent me the Die Young.
Nice.
I'm gonna try and call Nico.
I think his kids mugged him.
Hold on.
His wife said that she blew a breaker. He'll be back on once he gets his computer back up.
Wait, isn't he in Iowa? Snowstorm, tornado, something like that? There he is.
Hey.
Oh, I see how it is, Nico. Don't pick up my phone call.
So yeah, what did you do to her that she blew the breaker?
I mean, I'm in here. She's out there. Decided to do the one has the router plugged into it, but I'm filming on my phone, so I'm using it as a webcam. So that's where I could really check that without having to completely reset up. So that was where I'm like, all of a sudden I froze. I'm like, oh no, and that's ran to get. So all right, well, sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm gonna blame Andrew though, because this is not the first time that I've lost power. Something crazy has happened when he's been on a live here with me. So it's really his fault.
I'm not
He
even
wanted to
worried.
steal the show for his unboxing.
I did.
Yeah,
What'd you unbox?
I got book mail.
Oh, hey. I got book mail today as well, and it was in gift wrap, so I don't know what it is because I'm gonna wait till Christmas.
Your
Unless-
daughter got book mail from me today.
She did, yeah. She seemed to. She really liked the Hungry Caterpillar specifically. She said the prose just felt really elevated, and she really liked the characters.
She's got good taste.
All right, so I'm really behind on comments, I think now. But Daniel says the prequel to Fire Upon Deep is interesting too. A deepness in the sky. Those are
I
some.
read
great
that too,
movies.
but I thought it was the sequel.
I couldn't
Maybe
tell
prequel.
you.
Anyway, I read them both. And I have the
Uh,
last one, Children of the Sky, but I haven't read that one yet. That's been sitting there for about 10 years. So
So
I'll
according
get
to
Oh,
Goodreads,
so-
yes, it's the sequel. Book 2.
well, now I'm confused.
oh,
'cause
good. My brain is not scrambled yet. That's good to hear.
Must be thinking of something different that I'm not sure. Because said the sequel's not great.
No,
I'm
it's
not
not
sure.
as good. If you Fire Upon the Deep is well worth the read. The rest, if you're a fan of the series, keep going. I want to see where he takes it, so I will read the third one eventually.
I gotcha. And then Heidi mentions Elric. Yeah, I need to still read Elric too. That's some of like the early stuff that I'm very curious, but just have not gotten to yet.
God, I
Oh,
saw
yeah,
a bomb
Jake.
post by Robin Hobb over on Blue Sky today, or yesterday, where she said Elric was part of her inspiration for The Fool. I never knew
Oh, really?
that. Yeah, I never knew that.
That's interesting.
And then other
Yeah.
people were chiming in as to other authors what Elric had inspired from them. So, yeah, that one shot out a lot of roots.
Oh, for sure. The Ian M. Banks, The Culture.
Culture, yeah, that was Player of Games. If you're going to read one Ian M. Banks, that's probably the best one to pick.
That's where I'm starting with him. Is I've got the first culture book, and then I'm going to see if I like it before I buy the rest of them. I'm going to try and be responsible.
It's very intellectual, idea driven, but it's well executed. I enjoyed it.
You're also smarter than me.
I don't know about that.
Well, apparently I at least sound smart because Heidi asked if I studied English lit. Now, I have a degree in business administration, which means I have a degree in basically nothing. But it counts. If you get one of them jobs, it's like you need a 4-year degree. I'm like, hey, I have that. Oh, there's documentation, just for the record. But Derek was missing me at least. Oh, and then we have congrats wherever you are. Oh, goodness. And Monty says, Matter, Hydrogen Sonata, Surface Detail. Those are my favorite culture books. Now, this is another one I'm apparently have to add to the TBR, which is never happening.
It's a huge series. If you dumped into that one, you'd be in it for a long time. I don't even own all the books.
Maybe I'll slow down on that one then, because
Try one.
I
Try
have a
Player of
big
Games and
series.
see if you like it.
But you can read them as
Well-
standalones, kind of, right? You don't
Yeah,
have to read them
they-
in order, and you don't have to read
Right.
them all. You can read like
Right.
individual ones. Wasn't that
Yeah.
the thing with
Yeah.
culture? Yeah.
So we have Josh, is also in Iowa, it sounds like. And yes, it is a cold day in Iowa, because that's where I am. So that's fun.
We had an
My
ice cream
God.
truck drive outside our house today.
What?
Yeah.
Like, it can't be.
I mean, it's
even
only
if the weather's-
45 degrees there, but
Oh,
Okay,
come on.
yeah.
You're readers. Are you so hidebound you can't think about buying ice cream outside in December? Just
Not-
do it.
I would have bought
Not
some.
the
Did you buy
weather
some?
the way it's been.
I did not.
We've been like low double digits and single digits already, and it's not been great. Like, if it's 45 degrees, sure, I can do some ice cream, because that's like summer this time of year. But yeah, January it gets so much worse. But it's it'll be fun. So
Well, we're going to 45 degrees tonight, and I'm wearing a scarf in the studio.
oh, and we have another special guest.
Oh,
I am hoping that it's not still secretly locking me down to 6, and that there's nobody who's like trying to get in, because nobody's told me they're trying to get in or anything. But I'm like, I do wonder, because I know that was the hard one with it. But
well, I can always duck out to make room in case.
Well, so I have the professional StreamYard right now for a week that cost almost $90 a month. So I don't know who that's for. It's not for me. Oh my gosh, we do have somebody down there. I just have to scroll because Neetha's here. So now the chaos can really begin.
It's okay. I'll behave myself today because I don't want to embarrass myself in front of Janiverse.
That's funny. So that's my ace in the hole. I'm just gonna have Janny on every stream I do to just add a little bit of class to it.
Go ahead. I don't talk. I'm not going to extort anybody. I should tell you all the things that I've been embarrassed about. I can tell you going back a few years what dumb things I've done in front of pros and cons when I was an idiot young person and there was no phones and no internet and no pictures. So it's like erased. We were lucky. When you do guys something now, today, it's never gone. The internet remembers it forever. I feel sorry for you.
This is true.
That
This
is
is
true.
We got to be young and stupid and nobody noticed.
On the other hand,
guys
you
were
could
lucky,
celebrate
very lucky.
Nico's 2K then. That would not be good either.
Nico, having me and Andrew on the same stream is very dangerous. You are bored.
I mean, I sent out a pretty broad invite too because I figured it was late notice. A lot of people were probably not going to be able to make it, which was fine. Some people might because like Mike has a stream coming up after this and everything too, and so like some people are going to schedule something. Like, you know what? We'll have a broad group. So there's still quite a few people who may or may not show up. So we'll see. But yeah, it could get really interesting. Oh, so Kaya, if you can hear me, Kaya, Monty will give you a whole $20 if you go open all your Christmas presents early.
No, that's not the way to bribe. The way to bribe is say, we'll get you 1,000 more followers, 1,000 more subscribers to open your Christmas presents early.
She at least got to open some. So
Sure, that would bring me to 8,500.
Okay. We can't
She says she
hear.
already has money.
She's already content in life. There.
You need to up it, son. 20's not enough.
Say hi. Say hi, Nico.
Hi.
Can you say congratulations? Can you say congratulations, Nico? You mumbled that. Yes.
Oh goodness.
So, Nico, I'm going to have to head out, but congratulations.
Well, no worries. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll have to miss this stream, I feel like, for obvious reasons, but
It's a creature.
I mean, you can just leave again. We take care of you.
yeah, I'm just gonna duck out and go to Mike's for a little while.
Oh, then we get to impersonate Mike and Nico.
Oh, there you go.
Who's shaving their head? I'll see you.
Oh, we got tea there. Just arrived as well. Well, welcome. Monty says you make cute babies, Andrew. And the little lady is flexing on us. Oh, goodness. Well, at least, so Anita, since you joined before we left, I know that the more than 6 is working. So that's the good thing. Is whoever shows up will be set. So
I think it will work up to 10.
Is that what it is?
Should
Okay.
work. I think
I've
so.
never done anything with the free version before, so this was a first. But this is the professional. So apparently, you're supposed to be able to have a webinar for 1,000 people. Because I was planning on doing that tomorrow, actually. So this was really good timing. But
You are going to host a webinar with 1,000 people?
Oh no, that's one of the perks of professional StreamYard. I'm definitely not. I was joking earlier. I'm like, I have no idea why I was offered a trial to this because it costs like $900 a year. It's like really expensive, and I'm like, guys, if I don't even pay for your pro version, yeah, but like I don't even pay for like the premium. The cheaper premium. Like, you really think I'm gonna pay for this? But it was good timing because I'm like, hey, then I can invite like 20 people to this. Hopefully not hit a bump. So I'm like, hey, that works for me. That works for me. So how's it feel to be
So
a big guy? I mean,
Who's a big boy, Nico?
oh, I still I was gonna say I'm like the third biggest channel on the stream currently. I think maybe, but I never thought I'd have this many subscribers, so it's pretty cool. And then I still, it's so funny because it took me forever to get to 2,000. I just kept going like up to, down to, up to, down to, and then I blew up a little bit just recently, and so who's making fun of my weight? No, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So that's where I'm like, what better way to celebrate people still watching me talk about books for some reason than having a bunch of friends on and hang out. So I haven't done many live shows because it's been really hard to schedule since having a baby, and so it's definitely been it's definitely been a fun time. Oh, and so somebody else that we won't have to impersonate.
Philip.
Philip here. Hey.
Hi, Philip.
Welcome to the party.
Hello, everybody.
My God, what are you wearing? Flannel?
Yeah.
Where's your damn tweed? Oh my
Well,
goodness.
it's cold.
AP is gonna slap you one hard. No tweed.
It's cold
I'm
in New
gonna-
Jersey.
We gotta dress up your lollipop head on a stick for ICFA and your flannel shirt.
Guess
Dr.
what?
Taste from Maine.
Well, New England. I am from Vermont originally, you know. So I mean, I have to wear flannel. It's part of the whole identity, you know. So, but guess what book I just put down?
We're waiting.
Book?
Wind and Truth?
No.
No. Either.
Trader's Not actually. Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
is
you're going to be ahead of the
7?
game because Johanna said on her schedule or her
Yeah.
channel today that maybe you won't be talking about it till February.
Well, I think January or February probably.
Okay, whatever. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm reading it now. I wanted to. It's been long enough. I was away from the world of Athra for too long, so it's good to be back.
That's the book where things like really start kind of
The
moving
pace is going to
quickly,
pick
too.
up,
There's
so
yeah.
watch out. Yep,
a lot of crazy
it'll
stuff.
start smacking along. So cool. Made my day. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're making my day, so I guess it's mutual. But congratulations, Nico. This is fantastic. I think it's been wonderful. This is a great milestone, and I'm just here to say I'm glad that you're around in our community and all the value you bring and the insights and everything else. It's really good to have you around, buddy.
Well, thank you so much. That's so nice.
Everyone,
It's,
this is how you congratulate someone. Take notes.
Philip bringing up the bar a little bit, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm getting beat up by a 4-year-old.
I
You wanna
can-
borrow
can
this?
have an excuse.
You want to borrow this?
Oh no.
I would love an F-bomb.
It's a Nerf
Uh,
F-bomb. It won't hurt anything. I can throw it at my publisher's emails. Not hurt my computer.
Oh my gosh. That's been it's been a fun time here. So we really do have a good crowd. I sent out, like I was saying, Philip, I sent out just a bunch. I realized on Discord that I'm friends with almost no one on Discord because you don't need to be friends on Discord unless you want to add people to a group chat. That's apparently the only thing. So I sent out a bunch of friend requests to all the people so I could try to do some, like, here's one on this site, here's some on Discord, here's some so I just tried to cover all the bases. And
I got 3
Cast a white
invites,
net.
Nico, in various places.
Wow, you're popular,
mean-
man.
you happen to be in some other existing group chats that I could use. So I was trying not to have to create a million of them myself. So because I'm waiting to. There's gonna be somebody who like pops in and is like, "Oh, you forgot to invite me." Which actually, did I invite T? I don't know if I invited you. Now that I think
Look at you
about
being
it,
a
but I
bad
meant
friend.
to.
For shame.
I'm gonna.
On your
send the
2,000
link.
subscriber and you forget T. This guy.
I was trying so hard to remember everybody, and I'm just like I'm gonna forget people.
I think you can be forgiven.
Just put it out as a community post. Then you don't forget anyone. Everybody who follows your channel can
Just
then
post the link to the Discord and let everybody join.
That might get a little too crazy, but oh goodness, and we got.
Well,
Hey, Derek.
what you've got here is Saturday Night Live on with BookTube.
You have one now. I'm so sorry. I saw you pop in, and I'm like, oh, maybe you're just leaving. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, did I not? So,
Shame.
that's where I was just looking because I'm like, there has to be. I know. I'm sure I forgot other ones here too, but it's we are evening out the odds now a little bit because Mike had to leave, but that was still he was here. We'd have almost even authors and booktubers now because we got Philip. You get both sides. But
I could do both.
Danny,
Either
Philip,
one.
and Derek all. Yeah, Derek's books behind me. Boyd Walker collection.
Oh, cool.
Which I still cite so regularly.
Congrats,
It's
Nico.
your fault that I still accept review copies.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm glad
I
it
was
worked
just
out.
thinking about this. Well, yeah, because you sent me this, and I'm like, I remember at the time, I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be for me or not, but I really enjoyed it, and so it was just like a great reason why I like accepting review copies. And then I've been like overwhelmed with them for a while, and I was just thinking like maybe I should stop. And then I got another book that I really loved, and I'm like, dang it, now I'm going to keep telling people.
Would you
Yes.
eat off your finger?
Yeah, no, I like trying different things too. It can sometimes it really works out. You never know.
Yeah.
I keep telling them to stop accepting review copies.
Yeah, I mean, definitely do what you need to do, Nico.
Apparently, Nico's gotten onto the mailing list of the romance subgenre somehow. He gets like weekly emails. From
Well,
people
I mean,
wanting
he has such a romance channel. It's all he talks about, right, Nico?
glowing hair, 6-pack abs, unrealistic body proportions. The worst.
I do. I really do. I get so many like, hey, do you want to check out the new Romantasy? And I'm like, why would I want that? Like, I know you probably just added me to a list, but I'm like, come on, people.
That hurts my
I
marketing
responded to one
part.
the other day.
Target your audience, people. Oh, this is so sad.
Yes. It's like,
Well, apparently he's the target for romance authors.
Yeah.
I'm
mean,
certainly not
told us
giving
yet,
them your
you
email
know?
address. Why would I do that?
He just hasn't told us yet. He
know I
he's
should
so
do that.
exciting when he's telling us, like, guys, this is a romance channel now.
That's dang it, that's my
great
whole
prank.
plot.
That'd be
I've been
big
building up
prank.
to it.
Fool's joke, Nico. Just do like a romance top 10. You don't have to actually read them. Just make a top 10.
Would be. I can't do it now because I actually started a Patreon, but for years I said, because I wasn't planning on starting one. I'm like, on April Fool's, I'm going to announce that I'm going to start like a book OnlyFans. That's just book reviews, just as a joke. Philip, I saw your eyebrows raise. I always thought I was going to do that, and I never did. And like now, it's too late, but it's okay.
It's Nico doing book reviews, just in a wife beater.
I'd probably have somebody be like, hey, I subscribe, just ask you to not. Like, please stop. I'll pay you to stop doing this.
That'd be great.
Oh, goodness.
It'd be great.
We do have, I'm missing a comment here. 2001 A Space Odyssey, recommend the movie first or book first?
I haven't read the book, to tell you the truth. I've only seen the movie.
I've got
So
them
I
in the
wouldn't
same
know. I wouldn't know.
Has anybody
But I
the
read
book?
other Arthur C. Clarke, but that was way back in the dark age. I'd have to really rummage my memory. Well, there's certain science fiction books that were written back when that are just completely gray screen when it comes to characters. You know, they're strictly idea books, and you read them strictly, but the characters are just dry as toast, especially if you're a female reader. So I have read all that stuff back in the Dark Ages, but only some of them stuck out because the ideas were strong enough. And I still have a lot of them upstairs on my shelf. So yeah, I read Dune, and that definitely made an impression. So there were a lot of science fiction authors I did read from that time period because, you realize there wasn't the volume of stuff to read that there is now. So you pretty much read everything because that's all there was.
The Kubrick movie book that I want to read and still haven't is Doctor Strangelove. Which this is the rewritten version the author did after the movie blew up, where they tried to make it more like the movie because the movie was much more popular than the book. So I love that movie so much.
So what's everybody reading?
I'm reading A History of Ash by Mary Gentle, which I don't expect you've heard of, but it's she's a really interesting writer. It's a combination historical science fiction where she mixed fantasy elements into history in an interesting way and blew things off the track. It's about a woman who runs a mercenary company back in the 1400s that isn't quite our 1400s, but it takes you a while to realize that. So I recommend it.
Sounds good.
It's got some raw, rough edges because she's not going to cut corners about what it would be like to be a woman in a mercenary company at that time.
Hold on, I just realized I can do something, and I'm going to flex my power.
I am reading
You're reading what?
Belly of the Bow. This is book 2 in Fencer Trilogy by K.J. Parker. And I'm also reading, Philip, I started Tales from Earthsea. I am on story 1, actually. It is pretty dark, actually. It is talking about how magic ended and what happened to wizards and witches at that time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Tolkien wrote a sort of follow-up, or started to write a follow-up to Lord of the Rings, where all the elves had left, all the magic was gone. He realized it was too dreary, and he gave it up.
It is very dreary. Oh my god. Even this.
Yeah.
What? Children of
story-
Hurin wasn't dreary enough for you?
Yeah, that was pretty dreary too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Have
well,
a bucket.
is
You need
interesting.
10 tissues and a bucket for that one.
I'll be keen to start those very soon, actually. After I finish Trader's Knot, I'll probably pick up some Le Guin. Yeah, read those tales, and then the 5th of the Earthsea books, The Other Wind.
Yeah. My plan is to finish this collection at least by the end of the year, and Other Wind early January, week 1 or 2.
Great. Yeah. Well, I'll look forward to chatting about it with you.
Yeah.
No. Gimme. No, where'd you get this?
A Wizard of Earthsea was one of my earliest fantasy books that I remembered specifically because I read Prydain earlier, but that was like a fever dream until I found it as an adult and reread it. But yeah, Wizard of Earthsea, which is still really good. It's you can definitely tell that they're older books. I still need to finish the series too, but they are a bit darker than you would expect too. Because Tombs of Atuan, it also is. I won't spoil anything, but just even the premise is they're a little bit dark.
Yeah.
You know what appeared on the shelves at exactly the same time? Contemporary with Earthsea was Thomas Covenant.
Mm.
Oh,
Really?
that's I'm reading.
They were
last
both
book in the 3rd trilogy.
They
now.
were released right around the same time, both of them.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I guess I should have known that. I know because Covenant's 70s. Earthsea's written
77.
Yeah.
Thomas
Okay.
Covenant.
I think there is almost 18 years gap between Tehanu and book 3.
Those came later. I'm talking about the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember going to the bookstore waiting for the next book. And those two were pretty much on spec at the same time. They were on the same time contemporary.
I do.
I
love
didn't
that
go
we
to
have
the
another
bookstore
Covenant fan.
because I was 5 in 1977. But
I was negative many years at that point. So I'm making up for it now, though. This is I'm doing an audio right now, but White Gold Wielder, which is book 3 in the second Chronicles, which have been excellent. Yeah, it's really, I feel like it's a series nobody talks about a whole lot, and like I was really blown away by the original trilogy, and I've been meaning to get to the follow-up trilogy for literal years, and so that was definitely something I finally am getting to.
I'm glad you're reading that because it has such a maligned reputation because of one scene which is
Yeah.
pivotal. It's the most non egregious rape scene ever. The whole book, if you read Donaldson's own essay about what he was writing about the subconscious mind and how we discount the beauty of it and we only see the ugly. That was his point. So here's this character that's so focused on all the negative things about himself and all the negative things that happened to him, which there is a stack, that he builds walls against all of the beauty. And so the point of those books is so missed and so misrepresented. And I can list, 10, 15, 20, 30 books where the egregious violence against women is really there just for effect. And I could name some major authors of a major names that did it in the first 10 pages of the book just to establish a point. And yet who gets criminalized for it is Donaldson, which makes no sense because he was actually handling it in an adult fashion. And it does alter the character and it does have ramifications and it's the most
huge.
It's huge. And yet every time that title is mentioned, there's going to be 15 people that say, I don't read this because. And it's a massive literary work. It's a monument in the field for exactly the reason that it didn't treat the rape that way. And I think he made his point very beautifully. So I'm really glad you're reading that, Nico, because sometimes you dig up books and you read them and you put them in another light. There were so many people take the surface chatter about it and will dismiss them. And that's one of the things I value the most about your channel.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually did not long ago a video kind of just talking about the series, the first trilogy, because that exact thing, and I mentioned that and I'm like, hey, it's there, it happens, it serves a purpose. It's not just there to be gratuitous or anything like that. And it's definitely a series that I think a lot of people would really appreciate. And the second Chronicles, I've been so shocked because if you just would describe them, I'm like, none of that's going to work. Are you kidding me? It takes place like 3,000 years later. There's another character introduced. And I'm like, no, that's never going to work. It's working so well. Like, so good.
You have to read the first 2 trilogies to get that series at all. And if you can't handle the scene that happens on page whatever in book 1 of the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, read the Mordant Sneed duology. There is no rape in that one. A Man Rides Through and A Mirror for Dreams. I may have the order backwards. So for God's sake, read Donaldson, pick that one. If you can't take the violence in his gap cycle, or you can't take, because he really digs deep into his themes. And I think his work is much more balanced and hopeful, the beauty and the ugly, than say an R. Scott Baker book.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You get 2 thumbs up from me, Daniel, for reading Thomas Covenant. So, which was another random pickup in a used bookstore. I found this old little box set, and I'm like, let's pick this up. And it took me a little bit to get into it, but I ended up really, really loving it. So that's where, it's my niche is still a lot of older stuff. I read the newer stuff too. Sometimes it takes me a while because I have a lot of the older stuff I'm still trying to get to as well, for sure.
There are so many books in so little time. We can't get to all of.
I just need to be somebody. If somebody wants to like sponsor me to just disappear to like a cabin in the mountains for a couple of years and just read with no distractions. And maybe then I'll finish my.
You have a kid, Nico. That's not an option.
She can visit occasionally, I guess.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
There's so many treasures that have been buried from the 70s, 80s, and even 90s that were not copying Tolkien. And because they were not copying Tolkien, They were solid mid-list titles. They did well enough, but they didn't have a big enough press run. So when you walk into a used bookstore, you think they don't exist because either they were keepers or they're so completely unknown, everybody's panned them as they must not have been any good. But most of the books that did not copy Tolkien written in those time periods were highly original. They would be relevant to audiences today because they were experimenting with things like Barry Hewitt's books. But people don't know they exist because they assume everything followed the popular marble down the chute, which is if you wanted instant popularity in those decades, you copied Tolkien. That's how you did it. And most of the women
Very fair.
writers did not. So there's an immense wealth of very original fiction that would still be relevant today, Kay being one of them, and the booktubers are discovering Kay. And I've read all those books. There are hundreds of them. And many of those authors are still alive and many of them are still trying to write. But they've been so swept aside by all of the massive quantity of things that have been come out post or after the internet. So you heard of them because they got on the internet. The things that were done in the 80s and 90s didn't make the internet. So they're going to be almost invisible to the algorithm, both on Amazon and on Goodreads, because the number of people who added them to their collection, those people didn't put things on the internet. They didn't use book listing sites. So there's a massive number of books that are very, very powerful reads that were highly experimental and cutting edge that are unknown. And they were paperback originals. So there's not even a hardback. There won't even be a library copy.
Cycle of Fire.
Yeah, that one. Mix of science fiction and fantasy back when that was scary to do. Publishers didn't know what to do with
What you
it.
did in that trilogy was brilliant. It's so cool.
Well, it's out there and it even has an audiobook.
It's true, it does. I love Cycle
Actually,
of Fire.
that happens even now, even in BookTube, where popular books get more hype and more people read that, and many books, good books actually are left unknown, like nobody touched them. Sad.
I just found one that just recently launched that, I mean, nothing. Crickets. And,
what book?
It's called Past 3 o'clock. It's a Dickensian ghost story set in winter. And it's only like a 4 or 5 hour read, and it's amazing.
There's so many, I mean, yeah. That's the whole reason I like to talk about, which I haven't read that one either, Andrew. I do remember you telling me about it, but I didn't get to it. So, but that's why it's so fun just exploring different stuff, trying out different stuff too. It's always exciting.
That's the problem. You're all wrestling the algorithm, and the algorithm doesn't reward you for no comments or no views. When you work with something that's unknown, your algorithm falls off the end of the tube. There you go.
And
down the
that's
chute.
why we're only just
even if it was
2,000 subscribers.
Only that is more than a huge percentage of YouTube has. So Nico, don't underestimate 2,000.
So why hasn't
yeah,
YouTube
absolutely.
discovered like Charles DeLint? He invented a whole a town called Newford set in roughly Canada where all this magical stuff and mythical stuff blends right into the society. And it's very contemporary and very, I recommend you begin with Moonheart, and then there's Terry Windling's The Woodwife, same thing, where they're blending the mythical and the contemporary at the same time. And so there's just a wealth. First contemporary fantasy that you would call urban fantasy, War for the Oaks. War for the Oaks by, she was married to another writer, Emma Bull. So there's so many books, and these were done way back before this stuff was anything. First, Teresa Edgerton wrote the first sort of punk. What's the ones where everything in the 1800s?
Oh, the steampunk.
Steampunk. She wrote the first steampunk way back in like the 80s, and then she had to change her name. She disappeared.
Oh, who is that?
Teresa Edgerton, Theresa Edgerton. Goblin Moon, I think, is one of them, and there's another one. There were two together.
I'll check them out.
Yeah, interesting stuff, but done way back when, and now it would be very contemporary. You know, it's that whole genre bloomed post
Yeah.
2000, but there were people writing that stuff
You're
before the
definitely
internet.
earning your moniker.
Destroy the KBR. Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is getting dangerous.
Blow it up.
Oh.
Yeah, 1 hour
I
and I have
had no
10
idea I
tabs
could change
open with
people's
books to
names,
read
so-
eventually.
Oh, I totally missed that.
So
What'd you say,
Nico,
Sarah?
I am being called for dinner right now, so I'm gonna duck out. But
Before you go, Philip, when is your book going to be done?
the one I'm working on now.
Yes, we're waiting.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for asking. I'm working on the sequel to the Adan trilogy now. It's called While Darkness Gathers, and it's probably mid 2025.
And you better tell me you're not going to end any book the same way you ended the first trilogy. Because if you do,
you're getting out the bomb there. I've been bombed by that thing before, so I know better. But, I'll try to behave my best.
You don't rate unless you've gotten the Nerf F-bomb.
That's right. Yeah. But I'll do my best. But this is a pleasure to see you all. I'm sorry I have to leave. But Nico, once again,
no worries at all.
congratulations. It's fantastic to have you around.
Thank you so much. Thanks for stopping by.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, and we had Joanna stopping by too. Also, no worries, but thanks for
Hi, Joanna.
in. And Aslan, hello, thank you, and hello.
So Nico, what are your plans for the next 2, 3, 10,000 subscribers?
Oh my gosh, I'm amazed that I ever got more than like 300 subscribers to this day, and just because I don't really play to the algorithm often, every now and then for fun I'll be like top 10 this or that, and do something like that. But I just kind of read whatever. So I'm so pleasantly surprised that enough people have watched me, and even when I have I'll do a video. It'll be something kind of obscure. It'll do nothing. But then one person will be like, I'm going to pick this up. Or one person will be like, oh my gosh, I was so excited to find this because nobody ever talks about this. And so those little things absolutely keep me going. But I mean, I plan to pretty much just keep doing the same thing. I'd like to eventually complete my life's quest to read all of the big series. Which is an ever-growing list of things that I'm discovering. But I at least try them because I'm much more liberal with DNFing now, especially having a lot less time. And it's yeah. So it's been it's been fun. See, ironically though, that video did way better numbers than I thought it would, which is had both positive and negative things coming from it.
It worked in Nico's favor actually.
That is, that's my second or third most viewed video at this point. Ironically, behind Stormlight summaries are the things that are the views. So, but yeah, that really jumped up in a big way that I was not expecting. But yeah, it's keep reading stuff, trying to get through all the stuff I have.
So what are the giant series that you haven't read yet that your wife is egging you on to?
There's so many things. My ones that I really want to focus on for next year that are some of them are more standalone, but like Lois McMaster Bujold is a high priority author. I still want to read the rest of Tad Williams' stuff. Anthony Ryan's a newer author. I own almost all of his books and have read only one. Gonna be working on a lot of Guy Gabriel Kay next year as well. Finishing out David Gemmell, another one too. Paul is on there as well for Atalantians. I really need to continue that too. That might be what I pick up next, actually. But for big series, there's just so many.
You haven't read Fortress in the Eye of Time. You haven't read C.J. Sherry's Fortress series
C.J. Sherry's
That's
an author I absolutely need to get to. Shadows of the Apt was mentioned earlier. That's a big series I still need to get to.
Brilliant.
I think Andrew started that. You did not start Shadows of the Apt? along with Andrew?
Mm-mm.
I
No.
DNF'd it. After the fourth book, I was done.
You know, you have to
Oh, I
continue.
know why too, because the fourth book tore my heart in half.
Yeah,
was
you
ready to
have to
kill somebody after
continue.
that
You
one.
have to continue. Fifth book works as a standalone, actually, at the same time.
I don't have to do nothing. I've actually been told
Oh, gosh.
not to continue by two people. One who is on this stream.
I know, Patrick. Don't
Yeah,
listen to
yeah,
him.
turn
Listen to
around,
me.
Patrick.
Don't.
Yeah,
You know,
honestly, I think you would DNF it
curious.
again if you
6th
continued.
and 9th and
so.
10th, Shadows of the Apt is so good.
Have you tried Miles Cameron's Traitor Sun cycle yet?
Okay, so that's also on the list. I actually used to have a copy of The Red Knight, I think is the first one of that one, or is that a different series?
Red Knight is the first one.
Okay, so I used to have a copy of it, and then I ended up getting rid of it at some point. I had never actually tried it. I don't
Okay.
remember even
Oh,
why.
too bad you got rid
So
of it.
it wasn't a very good condition copy, but I am definitely planning to get. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like I saw somebody review it, and it made it sound like I wouldn't like it. But then everything I've heard about it since, I'm like, that sounds like I'm gonna really, really enjoy it. And so I
At
will be
least
definitely
read the
reading those
first
books.
book because it doesn't cliffhang. I read the whole series, but read the first book.
Yeah, I will be excited here. That's Tchaikovsky is another author that's just he has
Anything
so
by
many books.
Adrian Tchaikovsky, I'll read. I read Final Architecture, his trilogy this year. Oh my God, it was amazing. I mean, the world building, every character, how he gave agency to every character. Initially I wondered what this lawyer will do in the end of the world scenario. Why is she going there? But he made a purpose for that character, every character. It is so good.
That's one of his strengths.
Yeah.
Is the ability to do that.
There's just
So yeah,
too much
there's another
stuff.
one. Anita, I believe it's Anita.
Anita.
You like urban fantasy? Did you ever look at Robin Hobb's urban fantasy? She's got two of them. One of them is she published under Megan Lindholm for those, but one of them is called Wizard of the Pigeons, and it's about a homeless man in Seattle, and you can't tell if he's PTSD or quite what, but is it magic? Is it? And the other one is called Cloven Hooves. Takes place in Alaska. It's about a woman getting a divorce, and she carves a statue. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was written back when, before that there was a real genre for that. But I don't meet very many people who have read either of those two titles.
Well, I just recently saw a review from Liam's Lyceum on Wizard of the Pigeons because he reads a ton of like older and less known stuff. And I was like, it's so interesting just because it sounds so incredibly different from like the Hobbit you think of today. So
Evie read Cloven House and she loved it. So I am definitely going to try it. Actually, I only read The Realm of Elderlings by Robin Hobb. I did not try her other works. I need to give it a try.
She also wrote historical, like the Reindeer People. There was a whole trilogy that she wrote under Megan Lindholm. So there's a whole, and she did a fantasy. Her debut was a fantasy, Lambeth Gate. So yeah, I have the advantage here because I started with her very first books and read everything all the way up, and then through the name change. So I'm current. So I've read everything she's done.
Yeah, I am curious to try some of her other stuff.
Actually, I'm so jealous.
You don't want to trade off of all the years that I've been around for all of that. But yeah, I've got a history of the field practically because all the stuff came out and I read it as it came.
Oh, and apparently an urban fantasy book she co-wrote with Stephen Brust, which also I've not heard of that.
I think she wrote a collection with Stephen Brust.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is the same collection or a different one.
There's all kinds of crazy stuff. It's like
there's another one of the big series.
Collaborated with Harry Turtledove, Roman Gods. So she did an ancient Rome. It's a portal fantasy. It's a modern woman buys an antique artifact and ends up in ancient Rome with Turtledove. So yeah, there's all kinds of wacky stuff back there that I don't meet anybody who's read that stuff, but it's upstairs on my shelf. Stephen Brust is another one. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one I was just holding up because I read the first one not that long ago. And I do plan to continue. It was also very 80s and just kind of off the wall kind of weirdness, but it was really interesting. So I'm definitely planning to continue. But I just thought it was funny because that one was, I pronounced literally everything wrong initially. So I said, oh, Stephen Brust and Jareg and the Vlad Taltos. And it's Stephen Brust, it's Jareg, and Vlad Taltos is apparently the correct pronunciation. So, oh, we got Evie. Hey, Evie. Thanks so much.
Evie, I was just mentioning you. You read Cloven Wars. Actually, Jani recommended both Cloven Wars and Visit of the Pigeons just now.
You just missed it. But yeah, I would be curious. Just I'm not big on urban fantasy, so that's where those ones are kind of lower on my list. But just to try something totally different from an author that you're familiar with, I think is really interesting. But
What, you didn't like Bobby Dollar?
I'm still gonna read the next one. Not my thing, but I knew that going in, which helps. Aslan confirming, been here for 10 minutes. TBR said teeth destroyed. Yes. Bobby Dollar is not really my thing, which I knew. So it's interesting. I'm still gonna try the others, but I'm definitely gonna go back to prioritizing the fantasy stuff first. But if you know going in that something's not necessarily going to be for you, but it's just from an author you're curious on, I think that helps for sure. So
Try
can't wait to read
R.A.
books.
McAvoy. Did you ever read the Damiano trilogy? Renaissance,
I don't think I've heard of that
Italy-based
one.
fantasy. Well, back before, not everything was Tolkien back then. It's basically the Archangel Raphael becomes sort of fallen and falls into this sort of Renaissance Italy style fantasy. And it's very, very different. And she also wrote some contemporary fantasy. She wrote The Grey Horse, takes place in Ireland. She wrote a couple of urban fantasies. Tea with the Black Dragon, it was a World Fantasy Award winner, and Sequel Twisting the Rope. And they're very thin books. You can read them in an afternoon. Shape-Shifting Dragon, Tea with the Black Dragon. So there's some more. So urban fantasy existed, but it wasn't a genre back then. But yeah, her fantasy, she did a couple of them. Damiano, Renaissance Italy. There was another one that was a couple of them that were totally differently weird, very off the wall. But that author's well worth looking up. R.A. McAvoy. Yep.
My Janny list is way too long. I really do have a little notepad on my computer that I've opened up and added like a bunch of things in the stream. Goodness.
Great. I'll use you as a cheat sheet.
I have a lot of the ones she mentioned earlier. I have previously someone here as well. So there's so many things too.
You can always ask me. I can always
really,
remember. Yeah. If you said, "Well, who was that author you mentioned that was?" And then you'll get 5 more just like it.
Yeah. I did that once, and you're like, "Did you mean?" And then you listed 5 different people, and I'm like, "Yeah, Janny, I meant number 3, but now the list is even longer." Oh goodness.
Yeah, it's like some of these authors are still alive. It's like Judith Tarr did a mix of fantasy and the Crusades. And she's a PhD historian writing fantasy in the Crusades. And she mixes the legend of Roland into the whole thing. And it's wild. It's off the wall. It's called The Hound and Falcon. And there's about 3 or 4 of them. But nobody's heard of her. And she's still alive. She's still writing. But, the books have just been erased. She wrote 2 historicals in England where she made King John the good guy and mixes magic into it. And it's much more historical accurate because Richard the Lionheart is not the good guy. So she follows history, but then adds these fantasy elements. And it's amazing. So there's 2 books in that series. And they aren't that long ago.
Another one I have, Carol Berg is another author.
Oh, she's brilliant. Yeah. Song of the Beast is a standalone. Try that one. And if you like that one, then keep going. She torments her heroes. I think
Yeah.
her best ones are the two duologies that link together.
That's my list. The Lighthouse Duet
Lighthouse
and the
Duet,
Sanctuary Duet.
and the two are separate. You don't have to read one or the other. They link loosely, but they're not sequels. I think
told you
that's her
guys I
best
really
work.
do have a list.
But you can start with Song of the Beast, which is a standalone, and see if you like it.
Yeah.
If you like her
Well,
work,
I have her Kate Glass stuff, which I picked up because somebody left a blurb on it. So
it's brilliant. I liked it. I really liked it. I thought it was brilliant. Great read. I burned right through all of the stuff. But there again, they changed her name, and I wish they hadn't, because she had a fairly solid readership.
yeah.
And there won't be any more, because her old readership doesn't know she changed her name.
Why would they
I
change?
had no
Why
idea.
would they
Wait, what
change the
happened?
name when she's already popular?
Because it's what's called bookstore death spiral, and I'll explain how that works based on my history, because I'm free to talk about my history. When Curse of the Mistwraith came out, it printed 26,000 hardcovers, and they sold 26,000 hardcovers. They sold out, and it reprinted. When they published my short story collection, they figured it was a short story collection. It's called That Way Lies Camelot. They only printed 10,000 of them, and they sold out. The whole thing earned out. But then they wanted to come out with Fugitive Prince, but they wanted to reissue the Cycle of Fire, and the U.S. publisher decided to split the covers or split Ships of Marior in half, Ships Warhost. So suddenly I had to do 3 covers for the Cycle of Fire, British and American. I had to do the split for Ships and Warhost, and I had to turn in Fugitive Prince on time. Now, in those days, computer tracking only kept your record for 2 years. So if you didn't have another new release within 2 years, your old numbers dropped off. So what happened was I couldn't quite get Fugitive Prince in time to make that 2-year deadline. So I got it in, but they couldn't print it in time. So what happened was the last record of my numbers was a 10,000 printing a short story collection. So suddenly that's all the chains would carry was 10,000 books. So I went from a 30,000 print run on my hardcovers for the early Light and Shadow series down to 10,000, and that's it. And then accidentally they underprinted Fugitive Prince. They only printed 9,000 books. So what happens is the death spiral, you never recover those numbers. They don't come back. If a book goes out of print and it sells out immediately, and then there's a gap in your Barnes and Noble looks at their computer tracking and goes, "Oh, you didn't sell any books for 4 months." Well, you did, but they couldn't get the books back into print and back on the shelf that fast. There was no ebooks back then to keep your numbers rolling. So your death spiral means you never recover those numbers. So they dropped off 10,000 or 15,000 printing on my hardback series, and suddenly my regular readers can't find it anymore. So your numbers get shaved, and unless somebody's paying attention and is fixing that, you get what's called bookstore death spiral. So Barnes and Noble or Walgreens or whoever's doing the national buying says, "Sorry, we're not taking any more than this number." And then if those don't go off the shelf, then it shaves it more and shaves it more. So they changed many female authors' names in the 90s to escape that computer counting. So Teresa Edgerton disappeared. Judith Tarr disappeared. I can list over and over and over women writers where they changed their name, and I didn't know. I was fans of theirs. I'd have bought everything they were doing, but I didn't know they changed their names. And guess who? Robin Hobb changed her name in the middle too. It happens. So when they want to start with a clean break and set up something new, whether it's the author is doing a different direction and they want to start fresh, but it happened over and over, mostly to women. So that's what a bookstore death spiral, it still happens. The algorithm buries you. The computer tracking buries you even when there's a logical reason. A book did so well, it disappeared. Cycle of Fire. You were talking about Cycle of Fire. Stormwarden came out at Christmas. It sold out in 2.5 months. The publisher didn't realize it sold out. They didn't put a reprint order in until after New Year's was over and done. And their decision was, we'll wait until the next book comes out before we reprint book 1. There was a massive gap between the two. So I don't want to take over the stage here, but that's what Bookstore Death Spiral, and that's why Kate Glass changed her name from Carol Berg. And it didn't go as well as probably they hoped. So right now, I don't know what she's writing. Don't know what she's doing. And here's a writer that's run beautifully consistent books, sticks her endings over and over. She sticks her endings. Doesn't deserve to be buried, just like Martha Wells. If it weren't for Murderbot, you'd have never heard of Martha Wells, but she's been writing quality books from day one. If you want to start with her fantasy, read Death of the Necromancer. It's part of her series, but don't worry about it. You can read that as a standalone. It's perfectly good as a standalone.
Oh, we might.
Is that Tori?
So you got
it looks like she's walking around.
Are you still there? Are you alive? Did you fall?
Oh, wait. She's coming back. Hold
There
on.
she is. Hi, Tori.
Hi, guys.
Oh, you're outdoors with your phone.
Huh?
You're outdoors in your phone in Minnesota.
I am, and it is freezing outside right now, but we are in the middle of Christmas shopping. But I wanted to come on and just say, Nico, congratulations on 2K. I'm so bummed that I cannot hang out with you guys right now. It's killing me.
Well, thanks so much for stopping by.
It's fun too.
You have a pretty good excuse.
It's like negative degrees right now, so.
Oh man!
If I were there, I'd look like Michelin Tire Woman. I'd have so many clothes on, my arms would be out straight.
There we go. I've got my parka on. But I just wanted to come on and say hello to everybody and say congratulations, Nico.
Thanks so much. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, go indoors. Get some water.
I'm gonna get back in my car and thaw out my fingers.
Probably a good idea.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Oh goodness. Yeah, it's cold here, and she's much further north than I am, so I can imagine it's pretty cold there. Also, this is most certainly not true.
That is true.
That is
actually.
about
I have it on good authority that that is in fact.
Oh, is Nico going to read Gore? Is he going to read Gore in 2025?
Oh Lord.
It sounds like you've got plenty of review copies to choose from, right, Nico?
Nico, I'm sending you all of the Throne of whatever, and my son just fell over in a car.
Oh gosh. The last one too was like a dark
Then why
romance
are you-
muddy
I'm
one.
gonna send you all of Akatar.
I mean, if you send him something, at least send him Fourth Wing. That is not quite as bad as Akotar.
I'm gonna send you Horny Dragons.
Ooh, or the alien
think I would've liked
barbarian
either.
alien one. Barbarian planet? What is it called? I don't know.
I'll send you
I
Fourth Wing and
I
Dragon
made a
Riders
deal.
Return. That way you just get the whole experience.
That was my wife, by the way, and I made a deal with her that if she read one of my books, then I would read one of her books, and it did not go well. I did not enjoy my time with the book at all. But she liked the pick for her, so I had her read Assassin's Apprentice, which she enjoyed, and she picked. Oh, it's called Haunting Adeline, which I do not recommend.
I heard Nico actually secretly loves this book. Ignore everything.
No, it was so bad for so many reasons, but not my thing at all. And I think I said something in a video, and somebody who knew what it was like, "You read that?" Because they just knew how much I would hate it. But yeah, I did not care for it. Will not be reading the sequel or the prequel to that book by any means. No. So
Is
There's
Layla
some
going
good
to
romance
continue?
out there, though. We just need to find the right one for you, Nico. Not every romance is terrible.
Well, I challenged my father. I got him to read Elizabeth Lowell. Tell Me No Lies. It reads like a thriller. It reads like a thriller, and I used to read his books. Okay, I read all his John McDonald, and I read, come on, that's not for men. Smut. Anyway, never mind. So I gave him an Elizabeth Lowell book, Tell Me No Lies, and he read it and he loved it, and he didn't know that it was a romance. So he went to the bookstore and he asked the cashier, I want to read more Elizabeth Lowell. And she said, what?
I think,
but it reads like a thriller. It honestly does. He couldn't tell because it reads like a thriller. So I've often held people up to the mat on things. If you read the top 10 authors in any genre, it's probably worth the read because they're probably that good.
Nico, I'm going to send you Unhinged.
No.
Yeah. Unhinged. It's a door romance. Quite literally, this woman romances her door.
So yeah, give your wife gore and see how she swallows that one.
I will.
John Norman's gore.
Sheesh.
Ice Planet Barbarian? Is that what you want?
Yes.
What you want?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Fina. Okay. Well, we're going to send him the entire series.
No.
We're going to get him signed copies.
Oh boy. I was gonna say people say that this series is romance, which I disagree, but there are plenty of romantic elements in it.
Yeah,
but it's so not.
Yeah, it is not. Series with just romantic element, every series with romantic element is not a romance series. You know, people have romance in their lives. It's part of their life.
Thank you.
What you got to understand about the romance genre is there are very, very strict rules. And often when you hand somebody a book and the men will call it romance, it's not. First of all, it has to be a happily ever after. Second of all, you never kill the baby. Third of all, you never kill any dogs. So there's certain rules because these women want to read something that's safe. So if any of those rules are broken, it is a love story maybe, but it's not a romance. And so if you mislabel that, and somebody goes out expecting a romance, if there is a romance reader and they pick it up, they're going to 1-star you hard because you didn't follow the romance genre rules. Now, I don't know romantasy. I don't know whether there's rules for that one, but you need to watch out for that label because you can misapply it and you can sink an author with a lot of 1-stars if you call it a romance. So yeah, romance authors have corrected me on this. This is what is not done in their genre.
I can see
that's happening with romantasy right now, really bad, where it started out as like Akuta and Fourth Wing were marketed as fantasy, and all these epic fantasy readers are like, oh, let me check this out, and of course didn't like it because it's absolutely not epic fantasy, which is where romantasy comes in now, right? Like as a new kind of weird genre, so people understand it properly.
Yeah. Well, and it's I just actually heard an author talking, Molly McCobb, author of Dark Bloom, who she was talking and she's like, there's no spice. She's like, she wants to be really clear on that because she's like terrified that all the people looking for the spicy stuff will read it and 1-star it when they realize it doesn't have it. And so, and then
they don't call it spicy, they call it steamy.
Well, that was like, I had my wife read it because I'm like, this sounds more up your alley. And what was her complaint? She's like, there should have been smut in this. And that was her complaint. And I'm like, I was glad there wasn't personally, but oh goodness.
Let me tell you, I used to know a lot of writers, and Roberta Gellis was well known for doing what was called sweet romance, which means the smut is it isn't. You know, the door closes, fade to black. But you got her at the dinner table, and you listened to what she said, and oh my God, she's sitting here describing a note that she was going to send to her editor, and she said, and I told him to fold it up into sharp little corners and stick it where it would hurt the most. She was about this high, all dressed in these sweet little clothes, right? Sweet romance. She was amazing. She was just a fireball.
Oh man, it's just like, I don't know. I'm not like, I'm okay if there's some romantic elements, but I just don't feel like I'm going to enjoy like a romance or the smutty books either. And I've just like,
you need a glass of red wine a soft bathrobe,
red
candlelight, rose petals all around yourself. Treat yourself to an evening, Nico.
I mean, I don't like. I like white wine. I don't really like red wine.
Fine, white wine. White wine's fine.
And then make it a vlog. Just make it a vlog.
Make it a vlog.
I was so
live stream.
tempted. I was so tempted to vlog hunting Adeline. I thought about it, but I'm like, no, because I realized I was really having a bad time too early. So I'm like, I don't want to be this mean to a book that's obviously I'm not going to like, even though I privately I'll say whatever about it because I didn't like it. But also then I'm like, I'm gonna get attacked by all like the TikTok people who love this book, and they're gonna come after me. So I did not end up doing that.
Well, what's wrong with these women who want to read that? I mean, that's what they want to read. Let them. We don't have to read it if we don't want to.
Oh gosh. And there is not like my wife reads all kinds of stuff like that I don't like. It's just not for me, and I knew that going in. So obviously I'm gonna have a really bad time with it and think like this is bad. Like it's not my thing, and so it's one of those things too. So I didn't end up doing it, but I did think it would have been funny. I might do like a really. I made the joke earlier. I want to take like a random like really young kids book and just do a full review as if it's a regular book, and just I don't understand that it's not like high art or something, and I still think that'd be fun to do at some point, but I don't know which one I would do.
I think it's rough because you got to be really careful when you start labeling things, because I've seen many people go, oh, I can't stand to read. Why? Because all the love triangles, and yet they'll read The Lions of Alrasin by Guy Kay. There's a love triangle for you. It goes on for the whole book.
That is the book,
and it
that
absolutely
made me
runs
realize
you
it
through.
can be done well, though.
Yes, it can. So I hate labeling things, just like I hate ranking things, because there's certain things that if it's done in a meritorious fashion, it's wonderful. And Lions is one of my top reads for my life.
Yeah.
Brilliantly done book. But it's a love triangle. You can't get around that. That's what drives that plot.
Yeah.
Is the tragedy that's going to happen, and you read it on the first page and you feel the train wreck coming. And it's so beautifully evocatively done that I will remember that book forever.
I have rarely been so blown away by my first book by an author. That's it. I have a three-way tie: Lions of Alrasin, To Ride Hell's Chasm, and The Count of Monte Cristo is my three-way tie for individual favorite novel of all time. So I'm sorry, Annie, I cut you off. Yeah. I think.
No, it's completely okay. I was just about to ask, like, weren't you blown by, first book of Daniel Abraham? I will not accept no as an answer.
Daniel Abraham?
Yeah.
Oh. So like I liked the first book of Long Price Quartet, but it was after getting like the further I got in, the more I fell in love with that series. So it wasn't like an immediate like, oh my gosh, like I love Long Price Quartet so much after finishing it. But like each book made the other one better. Lions is arguably Guy Gabriel Kay's best book. And that's the one I happened to start with, not knowing that. And so that's where I'm just like, gosh, I started up so high. And so it's, when I've still been enjoying reading a lot of his stuff here too. But we got Ian here showing up as well.
I will say I just recently finished To Ride Hell's Chasm, and while it wasn't my favorite book of all time, it's probably one of my favorite endings of all time. The send off in that book is just like I had chills the entire chapter. And like it's just this sequence of wrapping up these plot threads and letting go and moving on, and it was so good.
Nice. That is on my 2025 TBR. At the same time, I'm terrified because I heard about Johnny's prose that it could be difficult for me, but I am going to give it a try.
If you're reading, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's still accessible.
If you don't read it too fast, the way the sentences are structured, you almost got to take it by phrase and then let the sentence complete itself by phrase. But people try to skim it and they try to rush through it. and there's too much information packed in there. And I think they're used to reading, if I can analyze style a minute, they're used to being told this was like this or it was like that. There are no was and were verbs. They're all active.
Oh,
So there's no place to coast. Everything is active, so it's going to engage your mind differently. So the style bites in hard, and what happens is it becomes more of an experience because of that, because that passive verbiage is not there.
interesting.
Because you can coast when you're told this was like this, which you read most fantasies, they do it all the time. It allows you to coast over it because you've just been told the fact. These books act out the facts. So that might help you.
Yeah. I mean, I am a slow reader. I take my time with each sentence because I don't want to miss anything. I don't mind putting an effort in understanding. So I think.
But yeah, they try to skim
be so
through it
excited
because
when
you
I read
can
it.
coast through a lot of the prose in a lot of modern books. But this one won't allow that. So
Okay.
just don't rush it and you'll be fine.
Okay. That's good to know.
I'm always so excited when people are trying Janny books. So always a good time.
And you
Sky
know, if
right
you
is
hate it,
wrong,
that's
everybody,
okay.
by the
If you
way,
hate
'cause
it,
he is
that's
here
okay.
now.
I am here,
I don't think
but
they'll
since you invited me as an afterthought, I'm gonna have to leave.
I'm so sorry.
Actually,
I was even.
no, it's
Look at
right.
that.
Mike Molman mentioned or contacted me earlier this morning trying to get me on his creature creation or whatever. So I got to go to that one. But I just wanted to stop by and say hi.
Oh, okay. I did one of those recently. It was the most chaotic but fun stream I think I have ever been on. So it
That
should be
sounds
a
about right
blast
for
for
him.
sure.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. It was so much fun. I shouldn't be advertising for another stream though, but we're probably going to be not going super crazy much longer, but
I want you to highlight comment by Daniel. Dagger and Coin. I read first two books, and I mean, no question. Daniel Abraham is like my favorite author, and I loved the first two books of Dagger and Coin. Next year, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to read Githamar as well. Everyone, go and read Daniel Abraham.
I just picked up all of Dagger and Coin in one shot at a half price books, so I've got all of those physically now.
It is
that's
different
Dagger
from
and Coin is high on
LPQ.
my list.
It is different from LPQ. It is more like a traditional epic fantasy, but it has Abraham's style of unique magic system, his characters. It is so good.
Yeah, and that's the thing that excites me about it because it's more of that kind of classic fantasy is what I've heard, which I tends to jive well. And when people don't like it, they say it's too slow, and I'm just like, so it's right up my alley. Whenever I hear that complaint, I'm always like, I need to check this series or book out because that
It will
just
work
tends
for
to
you.
be
You
to
are
my
like
taste.
me. Yeah, you are like me. You also like slow books. You will definitely like it.
I do, yeah. Aslan with saying curse ending is credible. Yes. Oh, and here we go. So English, not their first language, but they found reading Words of Light and Shadow easier compared to native English readers because you're used to getting
Ah,
challenged in that. Oh, that's a really interesting way to
that's
look at
good
it.
to know, Aslan. Thank you. I mean, I need that boost actually.
Most of the people whose English is not the first language do better with Words of
Oh,
Light and Shadows because they don't push it, they don't rush, and they get all the words, they get it.
yeah.
So I wouldn't be afraid of it, but I'm not going to say it's not going to be, it might be difficult.
And
But
worst case scenario, you can read it on Kindle, and Kindle translates words for you. That's what I do. If I just don't know a word, you just get it translated from big old Amazon.
you can ask me, I'll tell you.
In German?
Thank you.
No, I'm saying if you don't know a word in English and you're
Yeah.
not an English speaker,
Yeah,
you can
of course,
always
yeah.
ask me because sometimes I'm using nautical terms or I'm using something very precise and technical.
That's
And if
true,
you
yeah.
can't find it or your Kindle can't translate it because it's a 17th or 18th century sailing term, I'll tell you what it is.
I'll take
Not a
you up on
problem.
that.
Not a problem. I never mind answering questions like that.
Thank you, Jenny, for being so accessible. That is really a gift actually to all of us.
All right, I gotta hop out, but great to see you guys, and congrats, Nico. It was super
Thanks
cool
so
that you're
much.
at 2K already.
Bye.
You need to ask
thanks for
Philip.
helping me.
You and Philip are wearing the same shirt tonight.
That
Yeah.
actually might legitimately be. That's,
I don't think so. Maybe.
if you go back and watch the replay, it's pretty close.
It is.
Well, yeah,
I'm an artist.
yeah.
I'm looking at it. I'm going, did they just shop at the same store?
Probably not, but all right. I'll talk to you later.
IT.
That's why they came one after another. Philip gave him the flannel really quick. So
They just swapped heads. They just swapped heads. Except Philip didn't button his up to the neck, so
yeah. We'll see who comes next.
the
in the
disguise deepened.
Oh goodness.
All right, I gotta drop because my laptop's dead, and B, I gotta give these kids a bath.
No worries. I didn't think you were gonna make it for much at all. So it was nice having you, Andrew. It's just
Good to see you,
having
Andrew.
Bye.
I wouldn't be here without you.
Oh. See you later. So haven't read Kithamar yet. Wait. So I really enjoyed the first book, and I do not know why I've not read the second book. It just, for some reason, anytime I put it on my TBR, I never get to it. So I really need to read.
Book 3 is coming out in April 2025. That's why I'm starting in January. So I want to be
is it
ready
that
for
soon?
book 3. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will definitely make sure I finish it before then. Yeah, all of his stuff seems to be really different. He seems to be a very versatile author. But yeah, I loved Long Price Quartet, and I liked
Have you
Kithamar as well.
watched his interview? I mean, Alan's interview with Daniel Abraham. You should. I mean, one of my favorite interviews, actually.
It was
So
really, really good for sure.
Yeah.
We got Avid Book Junkie. Hello and welcome. I feel like if you're an avid book junkie, you're in the right place, probably. So, and yes, if they say the book is slow, I'm in. Yeah,
I'm looking for more books like that. I'm tired of these things that are going.
It's
like
it's
wham
so
bam,
true.
thank you, ma'am. You know, I'm done with these wham bam, thank you, ma'am books. I want one that's gonna just keep going and build and build and build, and then suck the ending really, really hard.
I haven't read it quite yet, but I had an author a while back pitch me their book, and like I always look up, like they give me the blurb, they tell me some information, and then I look up some reviews to be like, has anybody I know read this, or what are people saying? And I saw several reviews that, because I always look like between 2 and 4, I feel like is the really finding the right answers, and there were several kind of negative reviews being like, oh my gosh, this is just slow, and there's so much going on with the world building, I couldn't follow. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like, all right, I just read your negative reviews, yes, I will accept this as a copy immediately. And he thought that was really funny, but I'm like, I'm serious. That's where negative reviews are helpful sometimes, because sometimes things that people don't like, I'm like, hey, oh,
Nico,
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I just saw him comment. I have to scroll because the bar goes down, so I need to make sure I stay scrolled down. I just saw the chat. Sorry about that.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
Welcome.
Oh, congrats, Nico. It's been so fun following your channel for so long. And
Thanks so much.
I just wanted to show Jenny. I found this at a used bookstore, and this is such a beautiful painting that you did, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, this is an incredible work of art, and it really caught my eye. I can't wait to read it. It was such a lucky find at a local used bookstore.
Woo, nice. Yeah, I do all my own covers.
Oh, it's stunning. It's stunning. I can't wait to read it.
Cool.
I am so excited for you to read that, Ben.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
excited.
I have a quick question for Jenny. So it's about the fantasy writer world. I read this trilogy this year. It's called the Empire of Salt trilogy by C.F. Iggulden, but that's just a pseudonym for Con Iggulden. So he's been writing historical fiction since the early 2000s, and his publisher, I think, didn't want him to release a fantasy trilogy under his name because all of the stodgy historical fiction fans won't like that, supposedly. And so this trilogy just got so overlooked and underread. It was so wonderful. I'm having Nico read it now, and I think it's this British publisher thing that they did to Christian Cameron also, because they
changed the first name, but at least they kept
name for
at least they
writing
kept
under
the last
fantasy
name.
and science fiction. And And I've heard him talk about that being a real pain, that he now has like 2 separate fandoms that don't necessarily know about his other books, and he has to maintain 2 kind of marketing accounts and social medias, and it's a big pain. But I think that they didn't even release this or do any kind of marketing push in the US. It really only came out in the UK. And so this is such an amazing, lively trilogy with so much voice and creativity and personality. And it's just a shame that it got buried because the publisher didn't want their historical fiction star to kind of be known for fantasy, which is weird. I don't know if you know anything about that sort of thing that goes on with pseudonyms or publishers.
All the time. We
Yeah.
were talking about Bookstore Death
Yep.
Spiral earlier, and the major authors that we know that have changed names. There's dozens more that you don't know that were forced to change names. I think the only thing saved me was that I was in the middle of a series, and they couldn't.
Yeah.
Because Wars of Light and Shadow had to get finished, and they couldn't change my name in the middle. And the Empire maybe kept a stake, kept my name alive. But yeah, they do this, and it's a mistake every time.
This one's odd because it's because of, maybe I perceive it's because he was successful in one subgenre that they don't want to sully his name or to get his audience confused. But then his loyal readers maybe didn't even know that these books existed, and yeah, it was very strange. I think that they did that, but it's a wonderful trilogy, starting with Darien. Highly recommend.
Like a modern one. This I haven't read this yet, but James Rollin, this fantasy book, where he wrote I think something else. I don't remember what. And then it was his transition to fantasy. They let him keep his name, but then you've come to find out he actually wrote a bunch of fantasy just under a different name before, and so like was already there. So I don't know. It is kind of weird, all the different stuff. But yeah, we had a long conversation about name changes and stuff earlier too, and it's crazy out there in the publishing world.
May have had nothing to do with the readers. It may have had everything to do with the critics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That could be.
Because see, take someone like Conor Gilden. He's very established author. Actually, I don't understand why publishers are so worried about print publishing his fantasy trilogy. It's not like he's small author.
I think it has to do with the bias against fantasy as being, juvenile or lesser or unserious. I think you see that in the literary world. They completely shun the fantasy sphere.
No, they don't. They just don't call it fantasy. If you go those guys that stand up, or Michael Crichton, I don't write science fiction, and they declare to the skies. But
for authors
yes, they
like
do.
you, Jenny, or Steven Erikson, or Guy Gabriel Kay, who embrace the genre, fantasy genre, they're completely shunned in the literary.
No, but Guy Gabriel Kay is actually published as a mainstream author in Canada, and he makes a point of that. But you know what?
Yeah.
I'm just one of those people that say, damn them, and the hell with it. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and let the pieces fall where they may. And my biggest revenge will be if I ever become that successful that I can laugh in their faces. I would love it.
I love that. I love that.
Take no prisoners. Do it anyway, and let them follow.
It just bothers me how just masterpieces like Guy Gabriel Kay's books are, they don't show up on the same type of literary awards lists that the National Book Awards, all those types of things that it's just so strange that the literary community.
Okay, I am sure he must have showed up like few years back, but I think at least I did not know him then. But now actually things changed in these awards or publishing because they're looking for more diversity and looking for inclusivity. So their priorities are different right now. So that's why maybe they're not showing. I mean, men like Guy Zizi. I don't want to make this statement, but I think that could be one of the reasons.
Read anything that Ursula Le Guin wrote about the field, and she was scathing about the way fantasy is put aside. And frankly, I don't think it has so much to do with snobbery as fear. There are people who are genuinely afraid of their imaginations. They're genuinely afraid of stepping out of their envelope. They're genuinely afraid of challenging their beliefs. And they're genuinely scared of looking at anything that is different. You know, back when I was in college and I had paintings that I had painted hanging on my dorm wall or something on the easel I was working on, and I was writing at the same time, I categorized people three ways when they walked into my dorm room. They either said, "Oh, you must do drugs," or "Oh, just like Tolkien," and then categorize safe, just like Tolkien, safe. Or they didn't look at it at all. They were highly uneasy and they ran as fast as they could. So I think that there are people who are generally so hidebound, and so they're not snobs. They're just scared of anything that would challenge what they think is whatever.
That makes a lot of sense to me, and it's just a strange thing. So I went through it too, where I loved fantasy as a kid, but then in my teenage years, I feel like I got subliminal messaging that the serious literature was realistic fiction, and I had to grow out of fantasy. And I feel like it happens to so many people, and I was lucky to return to it eventually, but so many people I think just are kind of.
I think that's definitely one of the reasons why most of us read fantasy as kids, but stopped it during college days and all, and now coming back to fantasy. There are many booktubers like that. The story is common because of that reason, because they went through that experience during their college days also.
They were told to throw away their dreams. They were told, grow up, get real. But honestly, I throw that right back in their faces. When people come at me like that, I say, where did every good idea ever come from? Where did every invention ever come from? Where did anything good or bad that evolved us come from? That's what separates us from people or animals, or, we have an imagination. We can dream outside the box. So what are you going to do? If you take away imagination, if you take away that element of experimentation, if you take away that element of what if, you just cemented society into lockstep. It will never change. Nothing will ever grow, ever evolve, ever break out of where we are now. So I think they're frightened of it, and they were slammed into giving up their dreams, and now you better give up yours too, because it threatens them that you didn't. Stay with the pack, because if you're over there and you're out of the pack, the wolves will get you. It is not safe. So they're doing it for your own good, they think, but they're squashing the most valuable part of our humanity, which is the ability to step outside ourselves. That's where empathy comes from, is the ability to imagine ourselves in somebody else's shoes and their circumstance. So it's wrong, but there's this tremendous momentum to get real and go get a boring job and piss away your life doing things you hate and then die of cynicism and then get sick and croak,
Yeah. And you can see, I think there's a hunger that so many people have to break out of that, because when epic fantasy does reach the masses, like the Lord of the Rings films, it did touch so many people. And
it did, but you know how Lord of the Rings broke out into the mainstream? This is the very little told story. And I heard Betty Ballantyne describe it to me once, and my jaw hit the floor. And then she did it again in public. Other people will corroborate this. The Lord of the Rings started out as a niche printing. And the papers, at that time, there was a copyright law that said if the book was printed and copyrighted in England, they could take 2,000 loose sheets, unbound, send them to the US, and they could be bound and sold in the US without needing to register the copyright, okay? So the Lord of the Rings, Alan Unwin, sent 2,000 sheets to the US, unbound sheets, and they sold out. And they did it again, and they did it again, and they did it again. So it was a very, very slow burn build. Now what happens is if you did more than 2,000 sheets and you didn't register copyright in the US, you became public domain. So there were lawyers at Ace Books whose jobs were to look through everything that sold more than 2,000 unbound sheets and go ahead and publish it in the US copyright free and not pay anybody, public domain. So if you look, the original US editions of Lord of the Ring was this horrible, ugly, tacky paperback. So Ian and Betty Ballantyne knew about this. They felt it was an unfair loophole in the copyright law. They wanted to end it. They were making no headway in ending it. They went to Professor Tolkien and said, let us publish your paperback and we will pay you. We'll pay you a royalty for it. Well, they had tried to buy Lord of the Rings for paperback publication when the 2,000 unbound sheets were coming in. And Tolkien said, no, he didn't want a tacky, ugly US paperback. Well, he got one out of Ace Books. If you ever saw it, you would just die. It is that ugly. So that's why the early Ballantyne paperback editions have a little green box on the back that says, this is the edition for which the author is paid. Now, Ian and Betty Ballantyne were not stupid. They took this, they blew it up into a story, they sent out a press release, and they said, poor little English professor is ripped off by American publisher and not paid a penny, even though it was legal. Okay, so they sort of shaded that article, and Donna Walheim at Ace was very, very upset about this because it was legal, but it was not ethical. But it was legal. And they were making plenty of money. So that was the edition was selling to the college students in America. Well, they got Professor Tolkien on the cover of Time magazine. They got national press coverage on poor little English professor gets ripped off by American publisher. That's what broke Tolkien into the mainstream. Wow. That's what blew it up and exploded it. And the first edition I ever saw was the one with the little green box on it. That is what made Tolkien huge. It took off. And Ian and Betty Ballantyne killed that. They got that loophole taken out of copyright law. It is gone now, where authors were being ripped off from because publishers were quietly sending these unbound sheets and they didn't care to register the copyright in the US. So people think that Tolkien blew up and exploded for nothing at all. It came from nothing. We're not in a meritocracy, people. Something happened with all those things that you see out there that are selling gabillions. There was a strategy behind it. And I know, but I'm not at liberty to say because these are not my books. But that is what made Tolkien hit the map. That is where he started selling gabillion of copies. And I guarantee you, if that did not happen, you might never have heard of it. Or it might have stayed niche. It might have stayed fantasy. It might have stayed in the little genre corner, but it got national coverage.
Well, on that very high note of a fascinating story, though, we have reached just over the 2-hour mark, guys, and I think it's about time to wrap up and call it quits here. But this has been so much fun. And thank you everybody who's shown up here in the chat, and then everybody who's jumped in, those who are still here, and some of you for the long haul too. So really much appreciate it. But it has been a blast. Thank you everybody so much for coming, and hopefully I'll talk to all of you again soon.
Nico, here's to you getting 3,000 and doing it in a month. 30 days. Give it 30 days.
We'll see. All right, bye.
Congrats, Nico.